this video, we're going to start to use the PayPal IPN data in our e-commerce app with Django and Python. Hey guys, John Alder here from codingme.com, and in the last video we set up a signal to sort of listen for PayPal to send the IPN data back to our website after somebody makes a purchase. So in this video, we're going to take that data and we're going to do something with it. More specifically, we're going to take the transaction ID or the invoice number that PayPal sends back to us, and we're going to match that to the order in our database and then mark the order as paid and do some other stuff. And that's what we're going to look at in this video. So let's head over to our code using the Sublime Text Editor in the Git Bash terminal as always. And as always, you can find a link to the code in the pinned comment section below, as well as a link to the playlist with all the other videos in this Django e-commerce series. So check that out if you haven't so far. Okay, before we get going, make sure you have your ngrok thing turned on. We talked about this a couple of videos ago. We're still going to be working locally, so we need to have this on so that we can get the PayPal IPN data back from PayPal. If you don't have this on, there's no HTTPS secure link between you and PayPal, and it won't send back the information. So make sure this is turned on. Make sure you've updated your forwarding URL in your settings.py file. I've gone ahead and done that. So the first thing we want to do is head over to our models.py file. And let's come down here to our order. So every time we create an order, we set this up a long time ago. We've got a user, full name, email, shipping address, amount paid, date ordered, shipped, and date shipped. We also want to add now a couple more fields that deal with whether or not the transaction actually went through. So we want to track the invoice number that we've created and given to PayPal and PayPal sends back to us. We also want to sort of keep track of whether or not they actually paid. So what we're going to do here is before we click the PayPal button to pay, we're going to create an order, but we're going to mark it as unpaid. And then when they go to PayPal and actually pay and PayPal sends that information back, then we're going to update it and say, okay, it's paid. And that's pretty much what we're going to do in this video. We're going to set up that mechanism. So in our order model here, let's come down here and create a couple of things. And I'm going to put some space just so we can keep this separate. And let's say invoice, or maybe even PayPal invoice and paid true false. So let's create a record called invoice. And this is just going to be a models.car field as always. And let's just set the max underscore length of this to, I don't know, 250, something like this. We'll set the null equal to true and blank equal true, just because we've already got a bunch of orders in our system, and this would go crazy if we didn't put null true in there. It'd be like, oh, you've already got orders. They don't have an invoice. What do we do? So this just sort of takes care of that. So then finally, let's also do something called paid. And this is just going to be a Boolean field. Boolean is true or false. And let's set the default to false. So whenever an order is created, it'll automatically be listed as false. So paid, false. And then later on, when PayPal sends us back the information, we'll change that to true. And that'll allow us to track things. So, okay, let's go ahead and save this. Head over to our terminal, Control-C to break out of this. And we need to now make a migration. So let's go Python, manage.py, make migrations. And again, that's always plural, even though we just did one migration. And it says, okay, it's got the invoice and the paid thing. That looks good. Now we just need to push this into the database. So Python, manage.py, migrate. All right, that looks good. So let's go ahead and run our server. And we can come back over here if we want and just sort of look here. Now, when we click on orders, we can click on order number 18 or whatever. And this one doesn't have it yet because this is an old one. Those aren't updated. Only from now on is there going to be a new field here that says invoice and also something that says paid. So we'll take a look at this again in a minute. So next, we want to create this invoice number whenever we create an order. So let's head over to our views.py file and let's come down here to our billing. Now we're going to need to change a lot of this stuff around because if you remember, if we come back over to the website and let's say we've got something in our cart and then we go to checkout, it goes to the checkout page where we can update our shipping information if we want. Just kind of do that. And then we continue to the billing page. And this is where our PayPal thing is. And now we've got this billing information. We might get rid of this. We're going to use this if we ever get around to integrating Stripe in. I plan on doing that, but in case we don't, we'll just take this part out and just have this PayPal button. And we can also change this button image if we want. We'll look at that later. But for now, when we click this, it goes straight to PayPal. But what I want to happen is as soon as this page loads, I want to create an order. So if we come back over here right now, when the page loads, it says, hey, are they posting from the former page, right? The shipping page. If so, get the cart, get all that stuff, grab the shipping information from the last thing. That's fine too. And then we create this PayPal thing. Now we've got this set up with this order number like this. Let's change this around and let's create an invoice number. And I'm going to call this my_invoice, call it whatever. And we're going to just set that equal to this. There we go. Now, instead of the way we had it, I'm going to pass in that variable down here. And this goes straight to PayPal, right? But now we've got that invoice number. Now we can also add it to our order. So before we do anything with PayPal, let's go ahead and create an order. Now we could type all this stuff in, but we've already done all this earlier in, let's see, what was it? The process order page. We're kind of cutting this out because this is all the stuff we would do with Stripe. When we get to that, we're just dealing with the PayPal stuff now. So let's come down here and sort of look and see. And here we're checking to see if the user is authenticated, if they're logged in, and then we're creating an order. Then we're doing some order ID stuff. Then we're adding the products to the order item. Remember, we have two models, an order and an order item. The order is the overall order that contains the items in the order. The order item is a list of those things. So, separate books are order items. And then those order items are added to the overall order. We don't want to deal with this. Well, we're going to have to right now, but we're more concerned right now with this order. So let's see, what we can do here is let's copy all of this stuff. And we're even deleting the cart. We probably don't want to do that just yet. Else, if they're not logged in, we're doing some stuff. We want all of that. Again, deleting the cart, not so much, but we can get rid of that in a second. So I'm just going to copy all this stuff and let's come up here. This is going to be sloppy. I'm just going to apologize in advance. There's almost no way we're not going to mess up all this copying and pasting. But for now, let's see. Let's go back to our billing. Where do we go here? Below us, I guess. Yeah, there we go. Actually, we probably don't want to create the order above the PayPal stuff because we want to do all of this stuff whether or not the user is authenticated, right? So if the user is authenticated right now, we're just getting the billing form. We still probably want to do that. And then we're returning all of this stuff to the page. But inside of here, oh, this is going to be sloppy. Here we go. I'm just going to close my eyes and paste all this stuff in. And let's try and make some sense of this now. So let's see. Where'd we go? It's already getting unruly. So, okay. So if we're logged in, here's the payment form. Now we're going to get the user. We're going to create an order, right? And here we need to make a change. We've got the user, the full name, their email, the shipping address, all the things, the amount paid. We also need to add that invoice thing we just added. So that's invoice. And we're going to set that equal to my_invoice, which is this thing, or more exactly, this thing with our UUID, a unique user identification number, right? So, okay, so now PayPal will have that same invoice number, and our order in our database will have that same invoice number, right? So, okay, that looks good. Do we need to do that again if they're not logged in? Yes, so we'll do that here. Invoice equals my_invoice. So what else do we need to do? Let's come back up here again. So if they're logged in, get the payment form, create the order, save the order, then create the order ID, save that. That's fine. We can just leave that. Now, do we want to delete our cart? Probably not. So let's get this. Let's take that out and delete the cart from the database. Yeah, let's go ahead and leave that part in. We need the cart later on for our payment success page, just because it'll be easier. So we won't delete the shopping cart, but we will delete the model shopping cart that is saved because it's a logged in user, right? So, okay, now this, we need to change that. So here's where it gets sloppy. Let's see. This is what we need to return probably. And I'm just going to leave this here. We'll delete it in a second. So So let's come back up here to, we have to start from the beginning every time because it's so unruly. So billing information, if the user's logged in, blah, 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 then order place and redirect home. No, we don't want to do that, but we do want to pass in all of this stuff, maybe. Okay, else they're not logged in. We create an order, give them an order ID, get the stuff to add an order item, then delete our cart. No, we don't want to delete the cart. Copy this, paste that in. Boy, there's almost no way this is lined up correctly. Let's see here. Else, oh, okay. So we can get rid of this. All right, so what is this stuff here? Let's come up here. If request post, we probably need, let's comment this out for now. This else statement. Okay, so if there isn't a request post, if we didn't click through from the page before, the shipping page, then we send a message that says access denied. Yeah, in fact, I'm just going to take this out. I'm pretty sure we don't need that. Okay, so this is a little crazy, but I think we've got it here. So let's try and walk through this one more time. So we go to the billing page, which is this page that has the PayPal button, right? We get the cart, get the shipping stuff, then we set up our PayPal button. Then, hey, if they're logged in, grab the billing form from that's below the PayPal button, though we're not actually using that. And then get the logged in user, use that to create an order. On that order, put the invoice that's the same as the PayPal invoice. Also create an order item, save that, and then delete the cart and return the page. I think that looks correct. Yes. Else, if they're not logged in, create an order with the invoice. There, that is there. Do all the same stuff. Return the page. Otherwise, given access denied. So, okay, I think this looks good. Let's go ahead and save this. Now, we're part of the way there. Now we're creating orders with that same transaction ID, that same invoice. Now we need to grab that invoice when PayPal returns it with the IPN stuff. And we looked at that in the last video when we set up this hooks.py file, right? So when that happens, when PayPal sends stuff back, we're grabbing that stuff and putting it in this variable, and then we can do stuff with it. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to match it to the order that has that same invoice number. So what is the invoice? So let's grab the invoice. We probably don't need to do this, but I want to be explicit. So let's go PayPal _object dot invoice. And I'm going to call this my underscore invoice again and set that equal to that. Now, just to make sure, and I actually didn't test this, but I want to make sure this is a string. So let's just convert it to a string. It's going to be a string, but there's already numbers in there, and I don't know what PayPal is returning exactly. So let's just make sure it's a string. So, okay, one more thing we want to do on this page. Sometimes it takes PayPal a little while to send that information back, a couple of seconds, and things can get moving fast on your app and get away from it. So to make sure, we have time for PayPal to actually send it back, let's import time. And then when this function runs, let's just set time.sleep to like 10 seconds. So after they click return to website on PayPal, it'll wait 10 seconds before it shows the next page. That's a long time. Maybe you want to put it at 5. You can play around with it, but let's just put it at 10 for now. Let's add a 10-second, what do we want to call this? Pause for PayPal to send IPN info or data, right? So, okay, that looks good. Now we've got this stuff. We've got the invoice. We want to take this invoice, and here we are printing to the screen. We don't really want to do that anymore. We want to match this invoice to the invoice in our database that we saved in the last section that we just worked on. So let's come up here and let's import our model into this page. So let's go from .models. Let's import our order. And that's our order model. That's this guy right here. So here we've got the invoice and the paid. So we can come back here, and here we're grabbing that information. Here now let's match the invoice to the order invoice, or match the PayPal invoice to the order invoice. And we can do that by creating an order. We can look up the order. And to do that, let's just create a variable called my_order. Let's set that equal to an order.objects.get. And we want to get the order that has an invoice that's equal to my_invoice. Now let's record that the order was paid. So we can do that by just calling my_order, which is this guy right here we just defined, right? And here we can say .paid, and we can set that equal to true. So this .paid is because in our model we have a paid. So I'm just saying the order.paid is equal to true. Now we just want to save the order. So we can my_order.save, and that's it. That will update and save the database. All right, that should do the trick. So now, moment of truth. After a very long video, let's test this thing out. So let's head back over here, go to our cart. We've got 2 Python programming books. Let's change this to 1. Update this. The total is $19.99. Let's go ahead and check out. So I'm just going to put some nonsense shipping data. Continue to billing. Full name is not defined. All right. So on all of our copying and pasting, we messed something up. User full name equals full name. All right. So let's go to our views.py. And in our billing, let's see, come down here. Oh, we need to go up. And let's see. Here is the order information. We forgot to copy this over. So in our process order, let's gather the order information because we're taking this from our shipping stuff, right? So this is going to be underneath our shipping stuff here. So let me just copy this. And below here, okay, yeah, here we go. In our billing information function here. So here's our shipping stuff. We'll just paste all that in right there. All right, that should do the trick. That's what happens when you copy and paste. It always goes badly. All right, so continue to billing. Okay, so there we go. Now we've got all of our stuff. Let's go ahead and we've got 1 book for $19.99. Let's buy now. Log in with our personal fake sandbox PayPal account. We can go ahead and complete our purchase. And before we return to the merchant, let's head over super quickly here to our admin section. Here we should see our order number 19. That looks good. It doesn't have the invoice. We got to add that stuff to this page. So we'll do that in just a second. But let's also look at PayPal IPNs. Okay, so we're good there. So let's go ahead and return to merchant. Fingers crossed, payment success. So now, if we come back over here, we need to make sure these things were updated. But we changed our model and we didn't add it to the admin page. So we need to do that real quick. So let's go over to our admin.py. And in our fields, in our order admin, we'll just come back over here and add in invoice and also add in paid. Okay, so go ahead and save this. Head back over here. Let's reload this. Okay, so now that's marked as paid. Our invoice is there. Let's go ahead and copy this. It's 2F88 and ends in 621. So if we come over here and click on this IPN thing that was just created, here is transaction ID, but the invoice is going to be right here in seller. There it is, 2F88 ends in 621. I can paste it in here again from the other thing. So these two match up as we would expect. So there we go. And right here, it's listed as paid, and everything seems to be working. So let's come back over here and let's try again without actually paying. And again, we didn't delete the cart, so that's still there. So let's go ahead and change this to 5. We'll update this. $99.95. Let's go ahead and check out. Add all of this stuff in. Continue to billing. All right, buy now. So we log in. Now, if we come back here, the last one was order 19. If we go back, we now have an order 20. If we click on that, it has an invoice number because an order was created, but it's not marked as paid. This is unchecked. Paid is false because we haven't yet paid, right? here we are on the page. We haven't actually completed the purchase. So that seems to be working as well. We can go to PayPal IPNs. Again, if we hit reload, the thing hasn't completed yet, so we don't have a new PayPal IPN. Everything is working the way we expect it should work. So let's come down here and complete this purchase. Now, you'll notice if we come back over here and hit reload, it's still not updated there. We actually have to return to merchant before it updates our stuff for us. But now if we come back over here and hit reload, we see, here we go, we've got this completed new IPN thing. If we click on that, it should say $99. Yep, sure enough. And if we come back over to our orders, we could hit reload, or let me just pop in, make sure we're in the ngrok thing here. Go to orders. Here we've got it order 20. Again, it was checked as unchecked paid. Now it's checked paid because the transaction was processed by PayPal, sent it back to the website. It updated the database, marked it as paid, and everything's working. So, all right, a lot in this video, a lot of copying and pasting. I hate when we just copy and paste. It was kind of necessary because we needed to change things around quite a bit, but hopefully you were able to follow along. The main thing here is really just we're grabbing this invoice that PayPal sends back that we already have in our model, and we're using that to look up the order that we have in our order model, in our order database. And then we're taking that order and changing it from paid false to paid true to show that, hey, the PayPal thing did its thing. We actually have the money in our account now. We can mark it as paid. In the future, we'll create a sort of dashboard for the admin user that shows all of the orders that are unpaid, all of the orders that are paid, and then need to be shipped. And we'll be able to toggle around and mark, oh, this was shipped, oh, it wasn't. Oh, this is paid, oh, it wasn't. We'll have all that stuff. And now we'll have all that information because we've set this up. And that's kind of all there is to it. So that's all for this video. My name is John Elder from Codemy.com, and I'll see you in the next video.